is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Freedom Fire Podcast, where we want to stoke the flames of freedom every single day. My name is Kendall Bowman, and ladies and gentlemen, this right here is what peaceful non-compliance looks like. That's right. We got this story from Timcast. New Mexico sheriff will not enforce the governor's order to unilaterally ban guns. On September 8th, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, I hope that's Lujan. Doesn't sound right. I'm going to say Lujan. Michelle Lujan Grisham issued an executive order banning open or concealed carry of firearms in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. In a move similar to those undertaken across the U.S. under the 2020 pandemic, Grisham granted herself emergency powers, declaring that gun violence constitutes a public health emergency. Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen. You see, this right here is why you don't comply. This right here is why. This is why we should have never complied. Because now these scumbags in our government, these corrupt officials, think that they can just say that anything is a public health emergency now. What's next? The common cold? The flu? What's next? Anything and everything that has ever caused anyone harm in all of history is something that they could say is a public health emergency. And they will, clearly. They say, oh, gun violence is a public health emergency. What does gun violence even mean? Not gun homicides, not specifically gun murders, not any of that. Just gun violence. What does that mean? That could be anything from murders and suicides with guns to someone defending themselves with a gun. That's all considered gun violence. All of it. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to stop complying. We have to stop complying with these mandates, with these decrees that these governors are saying need to be followed. There is a way, there is a path that laws must go through in order to become laws in this country. Has to go through House, has to go through Senate, then it must be passed into law, signed into law by a governor, or if it's at the federal level, by the president. This is how laws are created in our country. Democrats don't think that they have to follow that. They think that they should just be able to, become the king and the queen of their domain and then instantly have control over your life and make you do whatever they want you to do. Well, this sheriff told her, I don't think so. Let's continue reading. As I said yesterday, the time for standard measures has passed. This is from Grisham herself. Grisham said in a statement, and when New Mexicans are afraid to be in crowds, to take their kids to school, to leave a baseball game, when their very right to exist, sure, is threatened by the prospect of violence at every turn, something is very wrong. The order was immediately criticized by proponents of constitutional rights and is already facing legal challenges. Among the growing chorus of voices in opposition to Grisham's action in Bernalillo County, Sheriff John Allen, who says he will not enforce the executive action. It's unconstitutional, so there's no way we can enforce that order, Allen said during the news conference. This ban does nothing to curb gun violence. And that's the reality. If someone is wanting to go out with a gun and specifically use that gun to commit violent crimes or to commit any crimes at all, that is someone who has already chosen to not follow the laws. So what does that tell you? It tells you that anyone who actually goes along with this would be considered a law-abiding citizen. Okay? The law-abiding citizens are not the ones that are causing these problems. It's the criminals who don't follow the laws, let alone your stupid, unconstitutional, criminal, corrupt decrees. Queen Grisham, which is apparently what she thinks she is. Being able to just, I'm just going to sign a paper and that means you all have to do what I say. Oh, I'm sorry. What flag is that, right? United States of America with a constitution where it says, no, I don't have to follow your stupid decrees. You're not a queen. You're not a king. You don't just get to make up laws. You don't just get to just grant yourself emergency powers out of nowhere for no reason and say, oh, well, I'm in charge now. Everyone has to listen to me. Yeah, that ain't happening. Let's continue. Allen said he is calling for a special session with the governor to discuss the order, the enforcement of which he said would violate his oath of office to uphold the U.S. Constitution. Not only does this violate the U.S. Constitution, which is criminal, by the way, there are laws on the books for politicians that do this to be thrown in jail for these crimes. But it also violates the New Mexican Constitution, which would also result in this woman being thrown in jail and should result in that. Many people are calling for her to be impeached and for there to be a criminal investigation. And I believe there absolutely should. At the end of the day, these corrupt politicians who think that they can just roll over us with their decrees and say, you automatically, I'm going to sign a piece of paper. You now have to do what I say. Whatever it is. Whatever that little piece of paper said that I just signed, you got to follow it now. No, that is corruption. That is king making. We're not doing this. Our ancestors fought and died so that we wouldn't have to deal with this garbage. We're not tolerating this, man. We can't. We cannot tolerate this. Let's see what Allen had to say. We don't agree on this at all. This is unconstitutional, and like I said, I uphold my oath seriously. As far as meaning for Albuquerque specifically, I am putting everybody else, including every other politician and everybody else as a leader, to jump on board and work as a team. I said this last week. There was an article, and I wish this man would email me. He says the mayor, the sheriff, the AGs, the chief, they all have their own separate press conferences. I read all these editorials. What are they going to do together? And that's why in this press conference, when I was with the governor the other day, I said, we are all here. Bernalillo County is a problem. The state of New Mexico has a problem with firearms. What do we do to stop the infiltration that are being used for violence and firearms? What can we do for Albuquerque? Show that there's a collaborative effort to stop the gun violence. That's all that we can do. As I said, there's not a magic wand. There's not one solution. There's a myriad of solutions, and I can't be the only one coming up with that. And that's why we have to work together as a team. When asked by a reporter what he would tell people who are not now scared they won't be able to defend themselves with a concealed weapon, he issues a sharp reply. That's a quick answer. We aren't enforcing it. And that right there is exactly what this country needs. Every police officer that's watching this show, you need to be reminded, apparently. You took an oath not to protect your best interests, not to protect your family. That's the reality. Not to protect your job, not to protect your paycheck or your pension. You didn't take an oath to protect those things. You took an oath to protect the people and to protect the Constitution of the United States. That's it. Whenever you wake up in the morning and you say, man, am I going to do my job today? Am I going to do my job well today? Whether or not that affects your pension or your job or your paycheck, whether or not you could get, unpaid leave or whatever, None of those things should come into consideration when you're considering, am I going to follow my oath today? The only thing you should be considering is, am I protecting the people? And am I protecting the U.S. Constitution? And if you're not doing both of those things, maybe you should just quit. You should just quit. Because you're not helping anybody. You're not. You think you are, because you listen to some idiot Democrat corrupt politician or some rhino, and you think that you're doing the right thing. You're not. The U.S. Constitution is a much more effective document than you think it is. I know most people don't read it and don't know what's in it, but they think they do, so they talk about it like they do. You don't, okay? And if you don't, I highly recommend you go read it. It's a very highly effective document. It's an incredible document by our founding fathers. It's incredible. It's very effective if you enforce the Constitution instead of enforcing these queenly decrees from some rogue politician, some rogue governor. It's absolutely insane. This sheriff right here is an example to all of us. We should be following this man's example. If you are in a position of power, like a police officer or a police chief, whatever, a sheriff, whatever your position is, if you are in a position of power to do something, or in this case, to not do something, to not enforce this disgusting order, do it. Don't comply. Don't comply. Because you think you're helping someone by following this woman's order. You're not. The only thing that this is going to stop is law-abiding citizens from protecting themselves from the criminals. That's the reality. Gun violence as a health emergency? What does that even mean? Yeah, on one end, it does include things like murders with a firearm. But on the other end, it also means someone who's defending themselves with a firearm. Both of these things are considered gun violence. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. There are a lot more cases every year of a person defending themselves with a firearm than someone murdering someone with a firearm. But these politicians will put those things in the same category of gun violence in order to push through things like this. Guys, let me explain to you the reason why they're doing this. Why would this rogue governor make this decree? Well, it's the same question of why are they going after a man like Owen Schroyer, who did nothing at January 6th. He was literally just speaking. He went on his show and talked about January 6th, and he talked about what happened, and he talked about, he wants the Patriots to not fight back physically, but he wants people to have their power back in this country. This is what he was talking about. They want to throw him in jail. They want to throw him in prison. And here's the thing. The arrest warrant specifically says they are arresting him because of his speech. So if you think that this is for some other reason, no, it's not. So once again, why would they do that? Well, why would they go after a guy like Donald Trump? Why? It's very obvious the charges against Trump are completely bogus and completely political. It's completely political. They just want to remove the guy from the ballot so that they don't have any real competition in the election. Guys, the reason they are doing all of this is to try to get a reaction out of you. That's the point. Because here's the thing. We all know that the left is far more violent than the right is. I mean, the Summer of Love, burning cities down, the BLM riots, Antifa literally taking over entire city blocks in Portland, literally just murdering people in the streets. There was a guy in freaking Idaho that ran over a kid, all because he disagreed with him politically. All because that teenager liked Donald Trump. He literally ran him over with his SUV and murdered him. I mean, you got freaking Antifa in Georgia, over in Atlanta, Georgia, burning down entire buildings in order to stop Cop City, dragging a guy out of his truck, turning his truck over and setting it on fire. These people are insane. They are insanely violent. We know that they are. But the media does not cover their violence like they would cover violence from the right. All you got to do is take a look at the media coverage of the BLM riots compared to January 6th. Or here's a better example. What was the date? What was that date? I want to say it was like May 29th or something. 5/29. 5/29. The date was 5/29 of 2020, I believe. 5/29 of 2020. A bunch of Democrats, Antifa, BLM, showed up at the White House. They broke down barricades at the White House. They fought with and injured I want to say it was dozens of Secret Service agents and police officers. They set fire to St. John's Church across the street from the White House. And they set fire to a guard post at the White House. And all of this violence that was happening out in front of the White House forced the Secret Service to force Donald Trump into a bunker. That's how serious this was. You want to know what the media did? The media looked at that and said they called Donald Trump a coward. By the way, it wasn't Donald Trump that wanted to be in the bunker. It was the Secret Service doing their job, protecting the President of the United States. They forced him into that bunker. And the media called him a coward. You know, rather than, pointing out the fact that these Antifa scumbags were committing felonies and were beating police officers and setting fire to the freaking White House property, man. Rather than pointing that out, they point out the fact that, or they point out and say, oh, Donald Trump's a coward because he hid in a bunker. What did the politicians at January 6th do? Well, I mean, what exactly is he supposed to do? Go out there and fight them off? Like, what's he supposed to do? What were the politicians at January 6th supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? Nothing. There's nothing they can do. Ladies and gentlemen, they're trying to elicit a reaction from you, a violent reaction. This is why they do these things. They know that this is unconstitutional. They know that this is going to tick a lot of people off. They know that going after Trump is nothing but political. They know that throwing Owen Schroyer in jail is nothing but political and is also unconstitutional and illegal. And everyone involved with going after Owen Schroyer should be thrown beneath the prison. They're trying to elicit a violent reaction from you. They're trying to make you so angry that you act like the left does, because they can take advantage of that. We all know the media is not going to cover anything that the left does, at least fairly, but they'll cover every single thing that you do. Every single thing that you do will be under the microscope. Anyone who considers themselves to be on the right, Everything that you do will be under the microscope. Don't give it to them. Do not give them a violent reaction. Do not act violently. You want to go protest in the street with your firearm against this order? By all means, go ahead. As long as you're not being violent. As long as you're not using that gun in a violent manner. If you're just protesting, by all means, go ahead. Peaceful non-compliance. It's exactly what we need. This sheriff, if you're in a position like this sheriff is, this right here is exactly what we need from you. Peaceful non-compliance. If you're a business owner, we know they're trying to bring back this mask mandate, vaccine mandate, lockdown bullcrap. We know that this is what they're doing. It's not working because people are not complying. Guys, peaceful non-compliance with this garbage is how we move forward as a nation. That is how we get our freedoms back. Because these people can shout into the wind all day long. But if no one listens, who cares? Who gives a crap? By the way, this order is not just something that ticked off people on the right. There's a lot of left-wing groups that really like their Second Amendment Constitution. They really like that Second Amendment. Ladies and gentlemen, stop complying. If something is unconstitutional, don't comply. Don't comply. It's that simple. Now, I would say don't risk your life in order for non-compliance. But if the worst you're going to get is a ticket or a fine or what, peaceful non-compliance, man. Who cares? That stuff can be fought in court. Peaceful non-compliance. That is how we fight back. Not with physicality, not with riots, not with any of that. We don't do that. We peacefully non-comply. They say, do this. We say, nah, I don't think I will. This is how we win, guys. And we are winning. We are. We just got to keep going. It's going to be a long fight. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Keep going. Keep fighting back, not with violence, but with peaceful non-compliance. Love you guys, man. You guys are incredible. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section, and share the show with your friends. Follow me on all the socials down in the description, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we put out new videos. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.